market research on consumer goods. So it's going to tell you mostly about things you can purchase and touch, physical goods. It is also a good database for finding information about specific customer segments. So let me show you what I mean by that. To open the database, I'm just going to open this link in a new tab. And I'm going to close my other tab, but it's going to ask me to log in with my union password. I already duoed today, so it's not making me do that. And then with Mintel, I need to click through again and then acknowledge the copyright agreement. And here's what Mintel looks like. So like I mentioned, this is a database that's good for market research about physical goods, things that you can buy, sell, and touch, and also specific customer segments. So what does that mean? That means that you can find reports in these categories of consumer goods. So you can see, we've got automotive, beauty and personal care, which breaks down into smaller categories, cannabis, drinks, which also breaks down in a bunch of ways, financial services. This is exciting. This is actually not really a product you can touch. So that's a little bit new in Mintel. But food service, and this list goes on. Just note that when you hover over a category, it might break down further. And if you click any plus button, it's going to break down even more. You can also find reports in here about demographics, so specific segments of customers. So you can see, you can break things down by generation, by gender, by specific lifestyles, and then there's a multicultural demographic which will do reports by different cultures, as well as some things about like values and beliefs. So these are really great. Even if you're not doing research about a consumer good, you may still have a customer who fits into these categories, and so you might want to see a report on that customer. And let me show you a bit about like what that means. So if we click Gen Z, just as an example, you can see all of the reports that are tagged as Gen Z. And you can just see from this sample that these kind of are a variety of reports, and they get more specific than just Gen Z, ranging from, for example, marketing to Black Gen Z, or back to college shopping. So if we click on one of these, then we're going to see options for downloading the report. And what I would recommend is downloading the full report to start. And here's a table of contents, so you can kind of get a sense of what's in here. You're going to see a lot of blurbs, a lot of charts and infographics. And then once you've gotten a sense of the report and what information you need from it, you might want to download the infographic overview, or maybe the report presentation, which is the PowerPoint version, because you might want to like cite a specific infographic or a specific piece of information in your own presentation or your own paper. So that's Mintel. I really like Mintel because of how nice looking their graphics and charts and infographics are. They can, and I mean also because it's pretty easy to use, and you can often find reports that are relevant to whatever it is you're searching for. But I think the real advantage of Mintel is how nice looking their reports are, so that when you need to put together a presentation, it already looks good. Okay. Euromonitor Passport is fairly similar to Mintel in that it is also a consumer goods market research report database, but it has a few additional or a few different things that you might suggest that you should use Euromonitor Passport rather than Mintel. One thing is the geographic coverage. Euromonitor has more global coverage than Mintel. So if you're not able to find a geography that you're looking for in Mintel, you may want to check Euromonitor because it has broader coverage. You also may want to use Euromonitor if you're looking for a market size. because it has a tool that allows you to get into market sizing for specific categories of products. So that would be Euromonitor. And then I kind of link these together. So if I search in Mintel, it's very likely I'll also search in Euromonitor just to see what's in both, because they have similar types of information. So, might as well check both since they're both pretty easy to search. eMarketer, though, is a slightly different market research database in that this is a database that focuses on digital business and digital marketing. So the search interface is really similar. You can either search by keyword or you can use these drop downs to look at reports in the category that you are interested in. And you can see, these categories might break down more: e-commerce, financial services, health, technology. And so you'll notice that these categories are sort of more expansive beyond just consumer goods that you can buy and touch. So if you're looking for something that's more like that, more like B2B or more, technology based, then this might be the database for you. This also is a good database for just if you're looking for information about specific types of marketing. So if you were interested in learning more about like social media marketing or influencer marketing, or traditional media advertising, anything like that, as long as it's digital in some way, I would recommend checking out eMarketer. Okay, so that's my market research report overview. Any questions? I'm just looking at the chat to see if we've had any questions. Okay, I don't see any right now, but if you think of questions, please put them in the chat and I'll come back to them. If you're looking for technology market research, research reports specifically about the technology market, we do have resources for that. And those are Forrester, Faulkner's, and IDC. I'm not going to demo these today because they don't come up as often, but I just like to mention it because it does occasionally come up, and I want you to know this is something you can ask me about, or you can, get into searching these on your own if you would like. So anything that has to do with technology and the technology market, I would start with these three databases. Another category of information that you might need beyond just general market research is advertising information. So I already showed you eMarketer, which does include some advertising information. And if you're looking for information about how much is spent on a particular kind of advertising, then you might want to check out the ad spend part, like ad spend dropdown of eMarketer. That's a question we get occasionally. But if you're doing a search about sort of what kind of ad campaigns has a brand run in the past, or anything having to do with advertising as an industry or like a practice, work is where I would point you. So like for anybody who might be coming from sports management, I've had this question a few times this week of where can I find previous campaigns done by a specific company? And I would say work is a good place to look for that. So this is what work looks like. And I'm going to borrow from a research consultation I did earlier today. So thank you to those students. We're just going to look for Samsung so that you can see what might come up if you put in a particular company. So we've got a brand intelligence overview on this particular brand, and then a list of articles and videos that relate to the company that we searched. And let me just check the chat. Somebody said, how can we get the links? You'll receive the slides after the presentation, and also most of these resources are linked from the SPS research guide on the business information tab. So you can kind of follow along with what I'm doing. We're in market research right now. So a lot of the things that I've shown are linked from this section. All right, let's talk a little bit about industry research. So when I say industry research, what I mean is research about what's going on with businesses or brands within a particular industry. Who are the big players? How much might an industry be worth? What are the challenges and opportunities within that industry? Those are the kinds of questions that I'm trying to answer with industry research. Okay, so we have some familiar names here, including Mintel and Euromonitor. Both of those have elements of industry research in them. But I also want to introduce two more databases that might be helpful for industry research. The first one is IBISWorld. IBISWorld gives industry reports, and we have access to their reports for the United States, China, and then their global reports. So reports that reflect the whole world, but not individual countries aside from the US and China. And then BMI research also, which actually this is called Fitch Connect now, which will be clear when I open it up. BMI research or Fitch Connect is also gives industry reports, and they focus on emerging markets. So when I am looking for reports outside of the US and China, usually I'll just check Fitch Connect or BMI research to see if there's a report in there that's useful to me. So let's take a look at IBISWorld. Something I don't think I mentioned is make sure when you are when you're using these resources that you're using a library link. So you can use the link from my slides. You can use a link from the research guide. You can search for these things in Clio, which is our online catalog. But don't just Google the name of these resources, because the library links are what tells each database that you're a Columbia University user. So we've already paid for these. I definitely don't want you to pay for them again, because you get all this for free as a Columbia student. But the way that works is that you have to use a library link. So that's why every time I open something, I'm clicking on the link, opening it in a new tab, and it's just automatically logging me in. Okay, so IBISWorld, like I said, this is for industry reports within the US and China, and then there are also global reports available. So usually how I search this is I just put in a very simple search reflecting the industry I'm looking for. And then I will browse the reports to come up to see whether those are relevant to what I'm looking for. IBISWorld has pretty narrow definitions of industries. So if you're searching for something really new and innovative, you may not find that niche industry in IBISWorld because IBISWorld is more focused on established industries. So you might have to do some lateral thinking and think, what are the related industries to what I'm doing in order to get information? But let's say that we're interested in, but we'll continue with our Samsung example. Let's say that we're interested in mobile phones, cell phones. Okay, so we've got some lithium battery manufacturing, smartphone manufacturing, mobile game development, domestic appliance retailing, telecommunications. Okay, this looks all right, but I think maybe I need to rephrase my search. So that's something that might happen. You might do a search and think, this doesn't quite look like what I'm looking for. What's another way that I can say this? So I've rephrased my search to smartphones. And now this is closer to what I'm looking for, retail market for smartphones in the US. And this is what you can expect to see in IBIS World is a breakdown of the industry, starting with the definition and the supply chain, and then it just kind of goes on. Major players, main activities. This is our industry summary. If we click on industry at a glance, we're going to get some high-level numbers for what's going on with this industry. So that's, that can be helpful to sort of orient you to a particular industry as you're learning about it. And then you can just keep clicking on each of these sections to get all of the information from these reports. So again, that's a good way to get oriented to an industry if you have a focus in the US, China, or globally. And then BMI research. I'll just show you what this platform looks like. Again, this is for industry research, basically outside of the US and China. So usually when I come to Fitch Connect or BMI research, you can see it has both logos. What I'll do is click here where it says industries, and then I will select the category of industry that I'm interested in. So let's say I want consumer and retail, and then I will come over to this menu over here and select the country that I'm interested in. So I'm breaking this search down because I think Fitch Connect can be a little confusing. There's a lot to click on, there's a lot to see, but this is usually the path that I take. I click on industries, I click on the industry that I'm interested in, and then I click on the country that I am interested in. So then it will, load that particular country and that particular industry. And you'll find both analysis of an industry as a whole, and you'll find individual reports on companies within that industry, within the country that you're searching for. So yes, that's Fitch Connect, and that's about what you can expect in here. Okay, I'm going to close this tab and look at the chat because I saw some chats. Okay, excellent. No more questions right now. There's actually one more industry thing that I want to show you that I didn't put in the slides, but it's on the research guide. So industry research is over here in the top right. Then you can see I've got IBIS World and Fitch Connect. Those are the ones we just looked at. The third industry database that I frequently use with students is called Statista. Statista is a statistics aggregator. So this, they do their own original research, and they also gather up statistics from other sources and put them all into one search interface. So let's say that we are interested in figuring out, so let me back up. You can pretty much find statistics about any topic that you might be interested in. The topic limits on Statista are very broad. You can use this for lots of different types of searches, but I tend to think of this in a business context as an industry and sometimes market research database. So let's say that we wanted to know just like how many people are cell phone users. I might put in just cell phone. And Statista will do a few things for me. It will show me individual reports or individual statistics about whatever it is I've searched. So you can see we've got all sorts of things: production of cell phones by month in China, cell phone ownership in the UK, recognizable cell phone manufacturers in the UK, phone calls commonly made, just, all over the place. But it's also showing me that it has a report on telephony, which is, that's just a fancy word for use of telephones. So that's great. If I just need like an overview of something, I will often click on that first, editor's choice report and see what they've got for me. And it will also list additional things I might be interested in. And I can download this report over here. You can see that the price is crossed out. That's because we're logged in as a Columbia user. Please don't pay for things in Statista. If you see something that's asking you to pay, please don't. There might be something broken with the library link, but you shouldn't need to pay for things. Yeah, and we could download this if we want. And then we can also view the additional reports. Yeah, so I think if you're just getting started with a research project in a business topic, especially if you're looking for market or industry statistics, it's really pretty straightforward to do a Statista search. It's worth spending 15 minutes just to see what's in here, because it might quickly help you sort of enhance your assignment, whatever it is you're working on. Okay, that's industry. Let's talk about company information. So when I talk about company information, there are a few different things that I mean. Often what I mean is looking for information about a company's finances or information about their executive teams or, their individual executives. So for financial and executive information, I have two suggestions just to get you started, although there are more options if you need them. And those options are Mergent Online and CB Insights. Mergent is great if you're looking for information about publicly traded companies, so companies that are traded on a stock exchange. CB Insights is great if you're looking for companies that are backed by venture capital or startups that might be looking for venture capital. So let me show you these. And I didn't log into CB Insights before this. I should have thought to do that. But so hopefully I remember my password. That's one where you need a password. But I can definitely show you Mergent. So Mergent looks like this. And the best way to search Mergent is to just put in a stock symbol. So for example, if we're looking for Coca-Cola, I know that the stock symbol for Coca-Cola is KO. So I'm just going to put that in and it will give me some options. So KO on the New York Stock Exchange is Coca-Cola Co. and the is in parentheses. And then there's another stock exchange, TBX. I don't know what that one is off the top of my head, but it's a different company. So I just need to confirm that the company I'm looking for is correct. So yes, this is what I want. I'm going to click on Coca-Cola. And it's just going to give me an overview of this company, a financial overview of this company. So you can see the kind of thing that is in here. And if I want to, I can increase the length of my pricing summary for the stock price. You can see I've got key financials, company news, and then corporate events like calls. And you can also click through to each of these tabs to see more information about each of these categories. I feel that Mergent isn't very user-friendly. So if this is the kind of information you're looking for, please feel free to send me an email, set up a research consultation. You can try clicking around and see what you can find out of it. Once you know that you have to search by ticker symbol, a lot is revealed. But if you need help or you just want to talk through this with someone, totally cool. You can do that. Okay, I see we have a question. How would we reference data from these databases? So most of what I've shown you so far is in report format. So there should be a date on most of what I've shown you. You should be able to see where it's from, like what date it was published. This one, I don't think has a date updated. So I would probably include an access date. And then if you're citing an APA format, you're going to have to put like ND, no date. So that question, unfortunately, is kind of a case-by-case basis, depending what you're citing. But if it's a report, it very likely will have a date on it, a publication date on it. Okay, so that's Mergent. Let's take a look at CB Insights if I can get into my account, which I'm not going to spend very long trying to get in, but let's see. So you'll notice with CB Insights, it asks you to register for an account. That account will be free to you, but unlike many of our other databases, you do need to register with your Columbia email. So that's what's happening here. Okay, good. So if what you're trying to find in CB Insights is company information about specific companies, what I would do is come over to the search and click on companies. You can see you also have an option to search by deal or investor. So deal means like venture capital deal. You can search by attribute of the deal. An investor would be rather than searching for company attributes, you'd be searching for investor attributes. So usually how I build these searches is to just go through each of these drop downs and put in the information that I am interested in. So if I have a keyword, like let's say that I want to see every company in this database that comes up if I search for watches. So immediately it shows me a search, but that wasn't very helpful because you can see I'm getting things that aren't actually related to timekeeping. So like I think maybe Second Watch, yeah, this is a software company, and then the second one is a restaurant company. So maybe what I need to do is to go into my industry dropdown and find a relevant industry. So maybe I would look for like something like consumer goods or something like that. Yeah. We have jewelry. Great. So now I'm looking, I search for watches within the jewelry industry. And I could also maybe even select a collection. So these are pre-created collections by CB Insights. What this does is it will show you how many companies are within your search criteria and then how much funding the companies in your search have received. So, if you're trying to figure out like how much is a particular sector worth, how much funding is it receiving, this is one way to do it. And then you can also use this to find more information about specific companies. So let's say we are interested in this first one. Here's the overview for this company. So now this is the way to find more information about that. This, you would use it differently depending on what kind of information you're looking for, but this is generally how I start out with CB Insights if what I'm looking for is company information about one company or information about a group of companies with a specific set of criteria. Okay. I'm going to keep moving just so that we can keep fitting everything in and have time for Q&A. All right. So another type of search that you might do that kind of goes across all of the categories I've talked about so far is article searching. So you may need to look for articles that appeared in academic journals, in trade or industry journals, and in newspapers or magazines. So what I would recommend when you're doing that is to search in one of these three places. And I think I would recommend as a first stop, ProQuest, just because it has really good coverage across lots of different trade or industry journals. So when you're doing business research, I think that's a really valuable source type. If we open ABI Inform, then we're just searching the business databases within ProQuest. We could, if we wanted, search across every database, like every subject in ProQuest. But if I know that I'm focused on business research, I will go right to ABI Inform. So let's say that we are interested in finding information about, let's say, pet food. And I want to see what the trade journals or the industry journals are saying about this. I might change this search to anywhere except full text so that I'm searching the title, the subjects assigned to the items, and the summary, but not the actual text of the article. So this article really has to be about what I've searched in order to come up. And I've also put my search in quotes to tell the database, I want these words in this exact order. One thing to know about ProQuest and other library article search databases is that they take you very literally. So if I put in the right words pet food, it's really only searching for those words. So I might need to help it out a little bit by giving it more options. So I've linked my searches together with ORs, telling the database any of these are fine. So I put pet food or cat food or dog food. And I might, learn more terms to add to my search as I go, but that's a good start. So I've hit search and I have almost 4,000 results. So that's way too many. I have a few options for narrowing down. One option is to drag my date range way up and say, I'm only interested in like 2010 and beyond. That will cut it down some by about half. Another option is to look at the source type. And I might say, right now, I'm really only interested in trade journal articles. So those are those industry publications. So now we're down to 409. That's still a pretty big number. So now I might need to decide a bit more about what I actually want to know about the pet food market. And maybe what I want to know is about marketing, for example. And while this loads, I'll say, learning to search in an article search database, if you've never done this before, can take a little while. So this is another great reason to schedule a research consultation so that we can do this together. But the research guide does, under searching the libraries, include a quick cheat sheet on how to use Boolean operators, which are those ands, ors, and nots that you see me using. And additional advanced search tips. So again, that's going to be on the searching the libraries part of the research guide. And you can always schedule some time to talk to me about building a search like this. And now we're down to 99. So that's a nice, reasonable number. I can read 99 titles and make a determination about whether I want to read that article. Okay, so I'm not going to demo all 3 article search databases, but let me check the chat for questions. Okay, how much lead time does scheduling a research consultation usually need? I assume it's probably not a same day situation. Yeah, so usually getting a same day research consultation isn't possible. It's occasionally, if you email me in the morning, I might be able to say like, okay, I have half an hour this afternoon. Does that work for you? But generally, I need at least a day. There are a few ways to schedule a consultation. Let's see. Oh, I closed the guide. Here it is. One way, on the homepage of the SPS guide, you will see this Meet With Me button. That will open up a calendar with appointment slots. And so if there's an appointment slot that works for you, you can just click on it and book it, and we'll be ready to go. Another way is you can just email me and tell me when you're available, and we'll figure out a time to meet. And then one more way is that under Contact a Librarian on the research guide, you can find this consultation form, fill out the consultation form. If you fill this out and say that you're coming from the School of Professional Studies, the form will be directed to me. And this collects information like when you're available, how you want to meet, in person or Zoom, and other things that help me schedule the consultation. So you have a few options. If you're looking for a same-day consultation, probably your best bet is to check my Meet with Me button, because if I have slots open that day, you can book them, and I'm holding that time for consultations. All right, let's get back to the presentation. Okay, so I'll note about EBSCOhost or Business Source Complete that if you're looking for Harvard Business Review, that's going to be in Business Source Complete. So just so you know, that's how you find it. If you want to get right to Harvard Business Review, which is a question I get often, you can find it in Clio. And this is the Clio link to Harvard Business Review, which I'll put in the chat now. The way you access the content is you want to click on a link that includes the date range that you're interested in. I would recommend this first one, Business Source Complete, 1922 to present. That's the whole run of Harvard Business Review. If you click on it, this will open up in the EBSCOhost database, and you will be able to either browse issues. So if you want to see the most recent one, you could click here. Or you can search within the publication. So if we click here and do a search, now we're looking at everything within Harvard Business Review that includes the phrase artificial intelligence, just as an example. But if I wanted to see the just most recent issue, I would click on that, and here's the list of articles. Obviously, this isn't as nice looking as hbr.org or Harvard Business, whatever the URL is for Harvard Business Review. But this is how we provide free access to HBR, and it's a little bit more searchable, so that it has that advantage. And once you click on the article that you're interested in, you would just click on full text PDF. And you're going to see the article as it was laid out in the print magazine. And this is going to be true for most journals. This is how they show up, is you can search for the journal in Clio, and then you'll find the articles of that journal within a database. Okay. I forgot we were going to talk about data. I already talked about Statista. So if you're just looking for quick statistics, try Statista. And we already talked about Mintel for infographic summaries. If you're looking for data sets, like you're looking to download a CSV file or an Excel file and manipulate that for, whatever you're working on, run your own analysis, then you may be interested in Wharton Research Data Services. Or a Bloomberg terminal. I'm just mentioning these so that you know they're here. They don't come up very often, but if that's something you need, you can email me, and I will be able to connect you with a librarian from the business library. They deal more directly with these databases. They are available though, so I just want you to know that you have that option. We also have a whole team of librarians who deal with data. So those are the Research Data Services librarians. They're located in Lehman Library, which is in the basement of the SEPA building. So they don't really focus on business data. That's the business library. But if you ever find yourself needing social science data, demographic data, or any other kind of data other than business, they might be the librarians for you. Okay, so we have 8 minutes left, so I won't linger here in case we've got questions. Please put those in the chat. But I just like to mention, sometimes I get this question, how do I know if business information is reliable and appropriate for whatever I'm trying to do? So one question I always ask myself when I'm thinking about this is, what kind of information am I trying to find and why? If you're trying to find information for an academic paper, then you're probably going to be looking for academic sources. If you're writing or creating a presentation for an industry group, they may not be so interested in academic sources. They might want more up-to-date information. Maybe you would need to use something like a market research report or direct interviews with customers, or something else. Another thing to think about is how you found the source. I think what I think about most these days is, did the source find me? And if so, why do I think it did? So was there some sort of algorithm or just social media way that a source came to me, or did I seek it out? There's a lot of bias in algorithmic searching, like on Google. And there's also a lot of bias in the kind of information you can get through social media or other sort of algorithm-mediated online spaces. So you just want to make sure that you are balancing out any information you get that way through other sources, that you're reading laterally, meaning like reading multiple sources, and that you understand why a piece of information was published and who's benefiting from that publication. It's also great to know whether a source is citing its own sources. Is it being clear about where it's getting its evidence? And how is it presenting statistics and other things? Like, is it being really clear about where those statistics came from and how they're presenting them, or is it kind of unclear and you can't really tell? And then, of course, it's always good to consider bias. Did a source come right from a company, and the source is about that company? Then that's probably a source that's biased toward the company. And there are lots of scenarios where a source is always biased towards something. It's just important to figure out where is that bias and why. So this is a very fast overview of thinking through whether sources are reliable and appropriate. But if this is a question that you're having, that's another reason you might want to talk to me, or talk to your peers. Yeah. Did the source find me, or did I find it? Yeah, that's a great summary. Yeah, I'm gonna leave this here for you, and move on to Q&A, just because I see we are almost out of time and I want to make sure I answer any lingering questions. But remember, you can always find a source by searching Clio. We did that earlier with Harvard Business Review. And here is an email address that will reach me, sps@library.columbia.edu. It comes right to me, as well as my uni obviously comes right to me. That's kk3344@columbia.edu. All right, and I've got my eye on the chat, or if you would prefer to unmute and ask a question, that is also possible.
And while you're all thinking of questions, I'm going to put the survey link in the chat. So please fill out the survey, give us feedback, and by doing so, you'll also be entered into a raffle to win a $50 Visa gift card at the end of the semester.
Here's a question. Do we have access to The Economist magazine? So that is a looking for a particular source question. So to answer it, we're going to search in the catalog. And you can see that immediately we've got a result that says The Economist, and then in brackets it says electronic resource. That's what I'm looking for when I'm looking for a magazine or journal online. So I'm going to click on this, and I'll put this in the chat for you. Something a little odd about our access to The Economist, odd but nice, is that if you click on the very last link, you've actually got access to theeconomist.com, which is great. That's not always the case with our magazine and newspaper access. So you can do that database search if you need to do a more like academic or comprehensive search of The Economist. But if you just want to browse, use the publisher website link. This question always comes up and we're running out of time, so I'm going to also link you to where you can create a free New York Times account, which is here. So to create a free account, you'll just click on this link, create an account. All right, I don't see any more questions, but I'll hang on for a few more minutes, but I'm going to stop my share and let you go if you are done asking questions. Thank you so much for being here with us today.